Oh. Hello, Jurassic. Ooh, a little loud.
Hello, Jurassic. You appear to be off work now.
Hello from not Norway. I am far away.
No way.
No way?
No way.
Blech. Trying to get balance.
It's one glass.
Is there any soda in there?
No. It's just straight whiskey.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's all whiskey? Oh yeah, you're out of Coke, aren't you? That's... You can't say one glass. That's like saying, okay, one glass of wine, and then you come over with like a freaking like half-gallon bucket. I have the ice cubes that are non-melting.
The metal one? Yeah, but those are your special not melty ice cubes.
You just wash them and then you put them back.
I don't need you.
Otherwise you're watering down your alcohol.
It needs a little water down. It's straight whiskey, man.
Factories? No. You can't play that game. See, she's even like, oh, how dare you?
Me.
Oof.
I'm sacrificing here. I'd like to play factories, but there's horses to be admired. It's very important.
Well, that's what I was actually doing just before here too. So,
Why does Rainbow Dash wear both a skirt and shorts? That makes no sense. Rainbow Dash is wearing shorts, and then she's also wearing a skirt over the shorts.
Yeah, it's because they're supposed to be girly, so they have to wear skirts. But Rainbow Dash does sports, which doesn't really fit well with skirts. So
they've stopped making her wear skirts, I think, after Rainbow Rocks. I think, yeah, it doesn't fit her character at all.
No, not really. At least they did the shorts. Otherwise, it would really make no sense. Yeah. But the fact, like, how many times in like high school or middle school did you see girls wear skirt, like frilly skirts?
Very rarely.
That was like 1950s. We're out of that style.
I'm pretty sure in my school, anything that showed the knees was considered too risky. I grew up in the South. It's different.
I'm doing a project for Fiora. She had talked to me about a project, but never went forward with anything. So as of right now, no. But she has talked to me about assisting with the project. I'm just trying to stay away from any more collabs for a little while. So she might have talked or brought up that. Sorry, I'm on a single repeat on the potential for one, but we never actually worked out anything for going forward.
I am curious. Have you heard anything from Prince Whatever about the other collab? About it being released?
No, because there's way more work that needs to be done on it. I did like a 30-second part for a 5 or 6 minute video.
Yeah. But I mean, I figure everybody else was working on theirs just as vigorously as you were.
I really don't care. They'll finish whenever they finish.
Yeah.
So, I only did the one small part. Haven't heard anything since.
Oh, we put a lot more detail on the Applejack's hat than I thought they did. Applejack's hat's actually pretty detailed. Or maybe just the way the lighting's hitting it. No, it's actually got like... You can clearly tell it's made of cow.
Yeah, look at that. You can see the cow right there. That is a cow. See its head right there, and then its little legs, and its tail. Oh, that's a raptor, actually. See its skull.
Yes, I like this. I like that Applejack's hat's made of raptor. It's like, it was the last one. We found it on an island, and I turned it into this hat.
Oh yeah, I was trying to get Twilight's pose to work with that. I'm trying to have her like squint a little bit, but I'm not able to really get the exact look I want. And I have to be careful with the eyes so that I can actually have it pop around the front. I might just go with it and
Yes.
Yeah, Applejack is Dinosaur Hunter. She is the Chris Pratt of the pony universe.
Well, it looks like she just got punched in the face by an invisible man.
Well, there's certain aspects of it that I want to have shown, but I can't. There's the model won't do what I want it to do. Like the mouth normally would go further up that direction, but I'm not actually able to move it that direction. Squinting doesn't exactly work the way that I would want it to. So
It's too late, Jurassic. Applejack already turned the last raptor into a hat. It's canon.
yeah, she didn't hurt the raptor. It died really quick. There was no pain.
Just a single pull and its head came right off.
I really want to have her talking on a phone. Actually, I can have her playing on a phone. Or no, take a picture.
Just be like...
Well, actually, I wonder if Rainbow would be better for that. Because, like, for her look, her hands off can't, like, so something. Well, thanks, Razzie. Like, the hand just comes up from, like, underneath. It just goes, like, without even changing expression.
Yes.
Because I can see Rainbow doing it more than anybody.
No, I could actually see Pinky doing it more than anybody because she's insane.
If it was like an extra second, it would have been great to have her like turn around and do a.
Yeah, it's like hanging out with my friends today. They're all just horrified.
She just pulls out her phone, starts recording, and like for Twitter, and just. Like, there's abuse. Maybe move her shoulder up a little bit to emphasize. Yeah, I think, yeah, I can move her shoulder up. That was actually, I think, yeah, that actually does help. Thank you. I forgot that I can do those. It's only been in, since Rathalos that I started playing around with the shoulders. Because most of the ponies their shoulders don't, there's shoulder and clavicle, and they're different things. The clavicle is what would actually lift up, because your clavicle is the inside bone, so that's what it pivots around. Your shoulder is more just the rotating around. So, and the ponies don't have a clavicle bone. They just have the shoulder, and you really can't get them up that high. And even if you do, it's just like a stretched muscle or a thing. Okay, so let's see if we can find Like a cell phone. Oh, I always forget. I want to preload this library before stream, but
Cell phone.
there we go.
Yeah, totally.
Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
What? Yeah. We're missing numbers.
Like, how do you dial 911? It's missing the 9.
I think I threw it out. I had a rotary phone for the longest time that I had just because I found one that was still working.
This is called fancy phone.
It is fancy.
At least it has all the buttons.
I actually would make phone calls on my rotary phone. Only a couple times just to see if it still worked, but
I'm probably gonna have to
it still worked.
look this up. I don't think I've actually ever downloaded like a cell phone.
I like this, what was it, Game Grumps thing where they gave a rotary phone to some kids. And they said, you have 5 minutes to dial this phone number. Go. It was wonderful.
Elliot's Fun Box.
I'm afraid to know what that is.
I don't want to click it. What is this?
Oh, cell phones.
It's not just about phone though.
You can do tablets.
It's important that there is what looks like a camera on the back, because otherwise it'll just look like a thing. And I'm already subscribed, so where is this? It's just cell phone. It must not have loaded yet. Oh, there's iPhone.
Ooh. Oh, perfect. Super recognizable too.
There we go. Just hold that up.
Not that I would ever.
This looks like Hal now owns the old telephone market.
Hal stole the phone booth from the doctor.
Oh, there's this.
Customized it.
So there's the cell phone. So it does have a camera on the back.
Yep, there's an Android.
Well, this is a default one. The iPhone's probably the best one to go with.
It would be kind of funny if Applejack had an Apple. But I don't see her taking the picture, and you already got the shotgun thing with her. So.
Yeah, I the selfie I don't think would work because she would have to turn around, and so she'd have to be forward, then spin, then go up, and then you'd probably have to like have a flash or something for it to like signify an actual picture. That's a lot to fit in like 2 seconds. The most I'd be able to do is maybe the spin, but I wouldn't be able to put the time into it. Plus, if I put too much emphasis on what she's doing, it's pulling away from the scene as it is. I prefer to have it be where they're kind of everybody's doing a little something, so that everybody is even. If anybody I want to have be attention pulling, I want it to be Applejack. I just have to move her up a little bit more so she can see her gun.
You might almost want to switch Applejack and Rainbow Dash's location.
No, because then she's too focused.
Okay.
I like her just being she's background pony.
Fair.
And two, I want to make it so that she is not prominent. And I kind of did a little bit of color balancing here, because like I don't like putting Fluttershy and Applejack next to each other, because that's like a bunch of yellow and orange right in one spot. And normally I try to keep these three kind of split up, so normally I put those two between it. That's why in Remembrance they're Fluttershy and Applejack are on opposite sides, Rainbow Dash is in the middle, and then it's Rarity and Pinky, because it helps balance the colors out. And Rainbow Dash had to be in the middle.
I feel like you have a personal like vendetta against rainbows, because you're like, those two colors are too close.
Well, no, it's because if you keep things balanced, it just keeps everything you're looking at like without being too much extra focus. But if you put a lot of color in one area when there's a lot of color, that's going to be more of the visual focus, because we're creatures of pattern. So if I keep things balanced, it tends to just draw less attention towards one area. Yeah, I was thinking about having her just playing on her phone, but to me then that also requires a lot of finger animation, which is almost as bad as just like having her do a backflip.
I almost kind of just want her having like a concentration face when she's like holding up the phone trying to take a picture. It's like,
No, because if she did this, that's like the old person method.
That's how I do it.
Yeah. No.
How do young people take phone calls?
And
I hate that I just said that. No.
You made fun of me for saying it, and you said it to yourself.
I'm gonna go cry in a corner after this.
No, you got to use your thumb. It's a one-handed thing because you got to be the cool person. Because your other hand has to be for holding your buddy or giving like a gang sign or something.
That's for taking a selfie.
Yeah.
She's not gonna take a selfie.
But just it's the habit. The difference between a selfie and a normal picture is nothing. You're pointing it forward.
All I've ever known is to hold the phone like this and take a picture like this. I guess I'm holding it. I don't know. Let's bring my voice in. Call me old, guys.
You called yourself old too.
Well, you're older. I always have that.
Yeah, at least I don't look it.
Oof.
Oof.
Oof. I don't know, man. With this whole coronavirus thing, I might just grow out my hair all long and luscious and like get like a Fabio look. And then I just realized that just bringing up Fabio makes me old because nobody young's gonna know who the heck he is. I was wondering.
Okay. Fingers are normally I try to do it off my head, but fingers are a bitch, and I have a perfect reference right now, so why not?
I don't know. Does anybody? Are you old to know who Fabio is? Because I don't know.
Are you old to know?
If you know who Fabio is, does that make you old?
No, I wouldn't think so.
Well, you're old. You can't answer that question.
This phone, for an iPhone, this is a bit big for her.
Jurassic. Do you know who Fabio is? How old is Jurassic? He's in like his 20s, right?
He is 16.
Knew it. It's beautiful.
I think he's too busy with factories.
He's very busy with factories. I'd be playing with him too if it wasn't for horses, but horses are cute. What?
It's not a horse.
I know. It's very disappointing. That's why I'm drinking.
With the face at the beginning, he walks over here and he goes, "Horsey!" And then he walks away and he stops for a second and goes, "Wait,
Not horsey."
not a horsey."
But it's a trick.
There we go. Okay, I do not want the other bits, just hand. Perfect.
Do they have 5 or 4 fingers? I never really told. Wow, they got 5. It's impressive for a cartoon.
Do they have 5? Or do the models have 5?
I would hope that they would have done the same. Now I'm curious. I never paid enough attention. I was just angry that they had hands.
It's because you're frugal.
Frugal.
You're so frugal that you don't even pay attention.
Oh, dad jokes. I love it.
So the way I see it is the fingers are going to be pulled tight to le phone. See, now that is what would feel old.
What?
Rage comics?
What's a rage comic?
The old comics with like all the rage faces. They were the 2x2 comics that were horribly drawn. I love rage comics.
Still make those, don't they?
No, I never see them anymore. All the rage faces are gone. Now people just use like stock images and crap.
They did have 5 fingers. Yeah.
Does anybody on here remember rage comics? Or I'm like,
I didn't know they had a name. I just saw them.
Because it always went off the standard rage face. I can't remember which one.
I think my favorite comic from that was just because what it was the Forever Alone face, and it was just comic that said somebody broke into my house last night. It was the first time I've had company in years. It was just sad. I loved it because it was relatable. It's my old man humor.
But see, like my phone, my hand's big enough that it's gonna fully grasp it.
But you got little girl hands.
Yeah, and an iPhone's already a small phone, but I don't want it to be so small that you can't even see that she's holding a phone. And yeah, I know her elbow's broke.
How do girls hold phones? This is a very important question. Because they're going to have smaller hands on average, so they're going to hold their phone differently.
Like this. And they see Michael, they go boop 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 boop.
This is
boop,
how
boop,
the young
boop,
kids
boop.
do it now. They take photos with their nose.
They use their thumb, Michael. We went over this.
That requires hand-eye coordination skills that I do not have. It's really hard to tell. I'm like looking at pictures of women holding phones, and
That's creepy.
it's for research.
You tell the officer that.
Yes, your weird fetish of girls holding phones, and they hold them differently depending on the size of the
Why
phone.
are you using a pair of binoculars at the pool? Research.
Bird watching near the pool. It'd be such a waste. Just go to the pool.
Well, technically, actually, I am off on the phone. The phone should be resting on the inside of the thumb, and I am further too far in. I am hitting the monitor. Sorry, video wobble. So it should actually be more like this, which is more doable. Yeah, and normally I'll hold my phone across the back like this, but that doesn't matter because it's gonna look weird for her to do it. And I guess the camera is out of the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's up in the corner.
Just freaking hands are the worst.
Why don't they have hooves?
Hands are the bane of any animator or anything. But now all these are looking twisted because I was doing it based on this level instead of this level. Well, I think I'm just going to go what it is, just tighten it a little bit. Those oh, that's why that looks weird, because the finger's clipping. Okay.
They got weird hands to begin with. They got like Jack Skellington hands.
Yeah.
The Equestria girls are just uncanny as heck. That's all there is to it.
Well, it's just fingers are like something you need to, if you look up online, there is very specific professional methods on how to model fingers because of how they bend. For instance, you can't just create a bend point that's round, because if you do that, it's going to clip into itself. So you have to make it I want to see if this how these ones are set up.
Yeah, do it collapsible.
See, this one doesn't look to have it set up.
No,
Yeah.
it's holding in.
So normally what it would do is when you bend it, there wouldn't be a crease there. It would be a flat bit. So it would have one point up here, and then it would come down in a triangle, so that middle point would have a collapsible point that would actually bend into it. And a lot of the people I've seen when they do bones like this don't do that. They don't have a collapsible point. They have a flat bone, so when it bends, it tends to like collapse in a little bit. So it's hard working animating, drawing, and painting. Yeah, I know that hands are absolutely horrible. That's one of the reasons I think that horse art is easy, or not, I guess not easy, but quicker to draw, because you're taking out one of the hardest parts of drawing and putting it instead on just a big old log.
I've seen a lot of artists who can draw really well who end up doing one thing or another in their pictures to hide the hands, just so they don't have to draw them. I just feel like that's a reason a lot of old cartoons, like I was pointing out earlier, did the four-finger thing. Not because if the hands looked a little off. Then if your concern is a hand looking not quite right and it's only got 4 fingers, then you're odd.
The other benefit of it too, though, is if it's frowned upon to give a middle finger, if you take out one finger, you can never have to worry about it.
That's true. Never thought.
But it's also just reduced fingers. And there's probably a benefit in having things that are unrealistic.
Yeah, because it moves it further away from the uncanny valley.
It's you're choosing a certain amount of stuff to go away. Hello, fan.
Like if you have 5 fingers and they look off, then you kind of run into the uncanny valley a little bit. But if you have 4 fingers and it's off, then it's cartoonish, so you don't have to worry about it as much.
That's a bit better.
Plus your girls took that risk and they just decided to have weird hands and no fingernails. I think the only genre of animation that always seemingly does hands really well is anime, Japanese animation. They seem to almost. No, I've seen some like.
No, they still have problems with hands, but it's they, I think, pride themselves on quality, while in America we pride ourselves on going cheap and quick. So they're going to find every way possible to make it just done.
Yeah. Unless you're Disney. That's the one exception.
But now they're all 3D, so who cares?
And annoyingly. I loved Disney's 2D animations. Still, my favorite Disney scene is definitely Hunchback. Like, Hunchback of Notre Dame's kind of a meh Disney film. But the Hellfire scene, easily my favorite Disney scene, period. Beautiful animation.
Started your first day of 100 Days of Comics? Yeah, there was one time where I said I was going to come out with a video a month. I made a video that month. That was the only one. It's hard. It helps if you can work ahead of time. So, like, say, if you're talking about releasing instead, or if it's about practice, then yeah, that's harder. But if it's just about releasing, then you can just, like, spend 1 or 2 days just making a couple. I think that actually works pretty good like that.
I just gotta force myself to work out every day, and I've been mostly successful. And my arms are getting weird, so that's good. How long have I been doing that workout now? It's been since
yesterday.
Just, oh shoot. I got a long ways to go then.
You gotta gain a lot of muscle real quick.
Yeah. It's like I worked out one day and I was just like, bro.
It's just getting out of bed takes so much effort.
I am lifting like 215 pounds every time I get out of bed, so.
Well, yeah, I remember before we started doing workouts with Jay, like I would get up in the morning and you'd be kind of like, and like the only way to get up was to roll on your side and then kind of like push yourself up because I had zero stomach muscle.
Yeah.
It was so bad.
I mean, I still do that. I have the stomach muscle now because I've been doing sit-ups every day, but it's easier just to roll out. I mean, I already injured myself once through these workouts. The chiropractor helped, though. I think time helped more than anything. I think I've been at it since February, so it's pretty good. Considering we're in July now.
Yeah, if it's practice, then it's different. Well, 30 minutes a day isn't too bad, but still, it's. I had the easiest time. As I had talked to some people about motivation and stuff at conventions, whatever, and the one thing that I always learned that was an easy way to keep yourself motivated to keep doing stuff is to find a very, very simple, easy to do task that is something that you would trigger starting whatever like say if you're practicing drawing. So like it might be you have a special pen or a special place that you go, or you get a certain drink, or you do something so that is the easy way thing. Because sometimes you're just sitting there and you're thinking in your head of this big task. Even drawing, I'm just saying, just like a bigger task, and it's sometimes just like, well, I don't want to do this whole big task. But if you break it down to a single starting step, then you're like tricking your mind into thinking that it's an easy thing to do. So if it's about like going and getting a certain pen and paper, and then going and sitting in a certain little place, don't think of it as going to draw. Think of it as only doing that task. And then once you're there, it's so much easier to get started, because the big part about motivation isn't the motivation to do something, it's the motivation to start something. Almost any time when you have a lack of motivation for anything, once you start doing it, you'll keep doing it. But if you can find a way to just make the first step easy, then works pretty well.
The best motivation is always passion, but that's hard to maintain.
Well, you can have passion for something, but if you don't really feel like working on it at the time.
Yeah, well, it's the passion for working on it.
Yeah, but that never lasts.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That we're talking about when that's gone.
Yeah.
So,
For me, one of the big things is just opening SFM. If I haven't opened it yet, it takes forever to open, and it kind of will prevent me from doing other things for a little while. So if I want to work on something, sometimes I'll just go and click the software and open it without even thinking about it. And at that point, I'm invested. And usually anytime I do that, I'll get like 2 hours of work done. So it's actually not bad.
You know who I looked at, whose profile looked at on Steam today and saw they had like 2,300 hours in source film liquor?
Jay?
Jay.
Yeah.
What the heck's he doing?
I don't know.
Because I haven't seen much.
Furry porn.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past him. He's got
There
to
is
be doing
persona
something.
models and stuff too, but
But I haven't seen
no,
anything.
he's doing horse stuff, I think, because he had posted pictures of like he sent me a thing one time that says, "You didn't tell me that SFM is so good at meme stuff," and it was just like Rainbow Dash scattered everywhere.
I mean, I saw that, but he's got 2,300 hours in the program now. That's not scattered Rainbow Dash Mimi.
You can just let it sit open.
I mean, that is possible. He could have just like opened it up and disappeared for 3 months for all I know. He just left it.
Taking a picture. Selfie time. Click.
I'll take a selfie.
And she can toss the phone around too. Wee.
I wouldn't say that they're epic. He hasn't put any of the ponies in socks yet.
Thank you, thank you, Steve Brownie. Thank you for making epic, fun videos. I'm glad because it's kind of the goal. This is just weird having a shotgun and a pinkie pie. But no, that is the goal. The goal is to make stuff that I think is fun and just hope that other people find it fun too. So I'm glad that you do. And I will be making more.
And if I drink enough of this whiskey, I might cut my own hair.
Like what?
Cut my own hair.
Just shave it off.
Okay. I was thinking about just putting my trimmer at the highest setting, at the highest, and then just going over my hair. It would look weird, but it has to look better than it does right now. It's getting ruined.
But you're putting in all this stuff to try to make the hair come back.
Well, yeah, I don't have to worry about that hair getting cut. It's still super short. I can feel it's there. It's just super short and fine. I've been using Rogaine since I was 28, and now I'm 34, and it hasn't made that much of a difference. But, you know.
I'll leave it on and go to bed. That's actually what I do for renders. I will... Okay, Pinky was literally looking right at the camera.
Just giving you those weird vibes.
That's the one I'm looking for. No, that's what I'll do with rendering though. I will just turn my turn on the render when I go to bed, because it's the absolute best way to get stuff done without interrupting your actual day. For instance, I have, I keep forgetting to, but I need to render out Heroes Will Rise, and that's like a 14 or 15 hour render. The only way to really do that without interrupting any of my actual normal stuff is to start it before bed. I think it was like 10 p.m. and then it will be finished by the time I'm done with work the next day.
I'm confused. Don't you already have that posted somewhere?
I have the flash of it up on DeviantArt, but people have wanted a higher resolution version, and I have a 720 version because that was all I could render at the time. I want to do a 1080p version, but I also want to have it slow down because right now it's 12 seconds for a full circle. I want to get it to 48.
Yeah, at the time you should do it at 4K. Just take too long.
A 4K would take 26 hours. And it would be unable to use my computer the entire time. I would not be able to partially do it or anything. It would have to be consistent. And if there is a problem or a glitch in any way, I'd have to restart the entire 26 hours.
I think it's worth it, but
I am not.
I have nothing to sacrifice in this situation.
No, I am not doing that.
But think about the bones.
No, I'm doing it in 1080 only. 720 would have made it easier. No, 1080 is nice because for the amount of time that I want to do and the resolution, it is perfect, the exact amount of time that I sleep and work. Yeah. So it would be perfect. And then the nice thing is, since I'm working at home, I can check the render to make sure it's working. Because there's no point if the render stops working for whatever reason. Normally, what it does is it gets stuck on a frame and it just keeps inverting the colors over and over and over again. So it's still processing, which means that my computer's still running at like 100% to render nothing. So it's nice to be able to just go and shut it down so it's not eating up.
I mean, your computer's pretty comparable to my computer, and the thought of it taking that long to render that video is kind of insane.
That scene just has too much stuff in it. It's got like 150 lights.
It's insane. You can only take advantage of how much RAM? Like, what's the word? 4?
No, 3300.
3300?
Yeah, I can't remember the exact amount, but a 32-bit system's max RAM is like 3300.
But that's the speed of the RAM. I'm talking about how much space you can use at any given time. It's only 4.
No, it's 3300.
Okay.
It's addressing. It's not like. So it's like it's. I can't remember the.
So it's 3,300 megabytes.
Because 4 gigs is a rounding.
Yeah, I know it wasn't exactly 4 gigs, but I thought it was higher than 3,300. I thought it was like 38 or something.
No, I can't remember the exact number, but it was less than 4 gigs.
Yeah.
because of how addressing worked.
I think. Yeah, I don't know. I know it's not a lot, essentially.
But I think computers could have 4 gigs of RAM, but programs could only allocate a certain amount, or something like that.
I have no idea how much 64 bits take advantage of. It's more
We don't
than
have to
half.
worry about it for our lifetime.
Yeah.
No, we're talking because whatever 32-bit could do, 33-bit could double it, 34-bit doubled it, 35-bit doubled that, 36-bit doubled that. So,
Wow.
no, they're like, we're talking about petabytes type of
I expect to start seeing that like before I'm dead, though.
no.
Yeah. I didn't think any. If I told somebody 20 years ago that our computers were using terabytes now, their mind would fucking explode. I have no doubt about it.
Yeah, I love this. If a computer has 16 gigs of RAM, it better have a 64-bit processor.
No.
So yeah, what is the maximum amount that could theoretically be? So it's 16 exabytes. Exabytes of RAM.
I haven't heard exabytes yet. How many terabytes is that?
An exabyte is the one step past petabyte. A single exabyte has enough information that in a world population of 3 billion, all information generated annually in any form would occupy a single exabyte. So all the information in the world for 3 billion people in 1 year takes up 1 exabyte. And we can now do that in 64-bit.
Half-Life 9 is going to require at least one.
Zettabyte is my favorite because I think 300 trillion MP3s. I think they said originally 1 zettabyte. No, it was 1 yottabyte. Could store all the information throughout all of time ever spoken, done, or processed. Like every word spoken, every book written, everything.
I'm still convinced that if you told somebody people had terabyte hard drives today, 20 years ago, it would have, their mind, no. Why would you ever need that? No.
My dad was saying, because he worked at IBM back when computers were moving from typewriters into electronic computers, and he says that they came to him the one day and they said, well, there's this new device that's been invented. It's called a hard drive. And they're like, well, what does this do? And they're like, well, it's a permanent method of storage, because before that there was none. Everything was done on the computer chips, and if you wanted to run anything, you put the disk in that had everything on it.
Pretty much everything was ROM.
And so they're like, well, it's a hard drive, and it can store data permanently in the computer. And they're like, and you're not going to believe this, but it holds 20 megabytes. And my dad said, we were flabbergasted. We were blown away. Like, 20 megabytes, that's huge. And he goes, and their first thought was, whatever would you need that much space for?
I mean, that's the way I felt after I got my 256 megabyte flash drive. Mm-hmm. Like, I had been using floppies before that. Like
1.44s.
And I got this 256. Like, I'll never need anything more ever again.
My dad said that whenever he went to a place to install Windows, like this is like Windows 95 or something, he goes, you would go there with like 30 floppy disks. And it would say insert disk 1, and you would put it in, it goes burp, 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 and it would pop it out, and you put the next one in. And you would do that like 30 times. Yeah. That was back when hard drives just started. It was nuts.
Heck, I remember when Half-Life...
Just alcohol.
No. I remember when Half-Life 2 came out. It came out on 4 CDs when it first came out, and it took forever to load up to my computer. And I thought that was crazy. And now you download it off Steam through the internet from some server halfway across the planet. And that game downloads in like minutes.
Now, the amount of data that can be stored, it grew exponentially compared to how much data we have. So now data storage is actually cheap. It's no longer about how much can you store, it's about how fast can you store it. But you can get data storage. That's why like cloud storage stuff exists and so cheap. It's just data storage is not a problem anymore, but how fast you can do the data between, or how fast can you pull the data from it, is the big difference, and that's getting a lot better.
That's why, yeah, the solid state's been a huge jump for computers.
Yeah. Well, it's not just that. All the hardware in a computer.
Yeah.
Remember old parallel ports where it was just one cable was 1 bit and that went through the thing, and now it's all digital.
But I mean, that was the bottleneck for computers for the longest time, was the hard drives. But then they went from the mechanical hard drives to the solid states, and that kind of was no longer the bottleneck.
For those that aren't computer savvy, most computers I think have 1, 2, 3. I think 4 levels of memory. I'm trying to remember all of them.
I can only think of 3.
There's 4. Because you have pulling directly from your hard drive, which is very slow, but unless you have like M.2, then those are actually about as fast as RAM, so it's pretty good. Then you have the in between, which is virtual RAM, which is still on the hard drive, but it's utilization of your PC's RAM and the virtual RAM. So the virtual RAM is like a segmented portion of your hard drive that's allocated for the purpose of RAM. So for instance, on SFM here, when I go and load a library, it loads it into RAM. But then if I go and do other stuff, it might deload that from RAM to the virtual memory. But then because it wants the higher speed stuff for at that time. But then when I come back here and it says I need this again, it checks and says, oh, it's in the virtual RAM, so it takes it out of that. It's still slower to pull the data at the first, but it's still then all that processed data, so it's a lot quicker. Then you have your RAM, which is just your temporary volatile memory. But then you also have every processor also has a very, very, very small amount of memory on it too, mainly for tossing information back and forth for like adding numbers and swapping things, the very, very basic minimal stuff. It's usually gold plated and ultra fast, but it's so fast that it has to be on the processor because you have speed of light concerns. So that is the stuff that is the super, super fast memory. And so there's multiple levels of it. But we are getting to the point, I think now with hard drives, that if we move to like M.2s being a standard,
I mean, they're becoming a standard.
What's the point of a RAM? We're getting to a point where I think RAM is going to be obsolete.
I was saying that years ago. I mean, because all RAM essentially is flash memory, but the hard drives are becoming flash memory, so there's no point for RAM anymore. But it's gonna take an operating system designed specifically with that in mind to make that jump. But I mean, there is one other form of memory. There's ROM, but that's pretty much only used in BIOSes now. So you don't.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about like the not data storage, but the use of processed memory.
Yeah.
Because all the stuff in your hard drive is just processed too. Right? Page file. Yep. Well, I always have my page file as big as I can, and I think I currently have it on my SSD. Because the nice thing is, if your page file is on a faster hard drive, and it used to be that if you had all spin drives, and by spin drives the old hard drives with the needles that went over, if you had 2 hard drives, you put your OS on one and your page file on the other. Because your computer would be pulling information from the one, so it would be busy, but if it needed to pull something from RAM, the other one could go do it while this is still doing something. And that's what I originally had set up. I had multiple hard drives, and I had my page file on a secondary hard drive. It actually had a good speed increase. Now, as long as that if you have 2 hard drives that are both like M.2s or SSD, it's probably not going to make too much of a difference. But it used to actually make quite a bit of a difference. You're doing some RAM heavy stuff.
It really wouldn't surprise me if Windows 11 or whatever has an option to just nix RAM. Has some way to just bypass the using of RAM. She head bobbing. She's rocking it out. It's weird. No.
She's like an old lady.
She's super tall. I just imagine them like staring at the sea like, oh no, and then Pinky's just behind them like, my time to strike is now. The time is 9.
There we go. She's so excited.
She's exciting. I do love talking about computer stuff, though. It's like the one thing I know.
Well, being with like quantum computer stuff coming up probably in the next couple of years.
Oh, that seems optimistic.
No, like the quantum computing only didn't even exist until a couple years ago, and it's already had multiple companies developing things. They're just trying to make it cheaper and better.
I mean, once you get to quantum computing, I don't even know where you go past that.
Well, the problem with the quantum computing is it's like the same thing. Like when you move from a 32-bit system to a 64-bit system, things weren't compatible because of how memory works. So like it's trying to send stuff into a memory field that's now twice as big. But in quantum computing, when suddenly you go from 0 and 1 to 0, 1, and 2,
that's a
totally
different thing.
No, nothing works.
Yeah, like 32 to 64 still worked in binary. Quantum does not work in binary. It's a completely different infrastructure will need to be put in place for it. And I don't even know where you begin on that. Even if they get it to the point where it's stable, because right now it's not stable.
No, but give it time. Technology, Moore's law.
Yeah. I mean, I still feel like that's something that's not going to happen in our lifetime. I think I think fusion is the one big technology that's going to happen in our lifetime. Quantum computing still it just feels to me.
Oh, I can see quantum computing in like the next 10 years being not. It won't be something that's going to be in your house. In supercomputers that existed long ago, and what they were never got to a house. This personal computers just got faster and better. So I don't
cheaper as well.
But I see quantum computing still staying as like a big thing for corporate use and stuff. Because right now,
Hi Jurassic.
that they're talking with quantum computing that there's companies that are thank you. Also have one more derpy. Okay.
Yeah, one more derpy.
They're talking about renting people the machine's use out for so long to do certain processing. So I think that's what it's going to be for a while, is help us fund our project.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's where it all starts.
Thank you for the follow, Michael. And hello, GTD. Trying to get Pinky.
I thought you were talking to me for a second.
Trying to get Pinky to do not a selfie, but
that's gonna be this whole stream is like get Pinky to take photo.
I think should be about where I'm at. So as long as she goes backwards, then you can see her. I don't need to worry about that hand.
Stunner hit.
What was that about quantum computing?
Start that.
We were just going a whole thing into computers, and then kind of went further. We're just talking about the basics. Well, not even the basis of it, because it seems like everybody that's done quantum computing so far has done it differently, which is neat.
Oh, I mean, I only understand
remembrance
the
instrumental?
very, very surface level of quantum computing.
I do have.
Like how it. The thing about quantum computing is I'm not even sure anybody really understands how it works. They just know that it does.
That's the whole quantum theory.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, they have a theory that's math matches what's happening, but they don't know really why it's happening. They just know that it happens and the math makes sense. That's the goofy thing with it.
I don't know if there's like there's so much we don't understand about quantum computing right now.
No, there's not, but that's fine, because we get better.
It's like we've discovered fire, but we don't know how or why it's there.
Oh, actually, I could have passed it. Maybe.
It's kind of where
I think
The only time I think we'll finally understand the whole basis behind quantum computing is going to be when, or not quantum computing, quantum level stuff is when we get a theory of everything. But even then, I'm thinking we're getting down to the levels where the only way to understand it is to exist outside of reality to see it as everything. Otherwise, it's all theories. Because I'm thinking that there's things out there that we can't see and comprehend that interact with things, and how do you know any of it without being there? So there's a limit that I think we're going to hit, but until then,
eventually we'll attempt to understand everything. It's just until we understand everything, we gotta observe.
They're just going to keep throwing the spaghetti at the cabinet and waiting for it to be done.
Oh.
But that's the whole premise. Is they can research it, but really in the end, if you can't directly observe stuff, you're just going to have to keep throwing equations at it until you find some that work, and then you stick with that one, but then you just keep throwing more, and it's just going to see what sticks around. I thought I could jump to find a remembrance song, but apparently not. My playlist that I use here is like 400 songs long, so it's on there somewhere. I think I want to do Twilight Smoothing.
They will transmit data faster than the speed of light.
Not faster than the speed of light.
That's what quantum computing is.
No.
It's essentially two atoms in space that are essentially connected.
No, that's different.
What am I thinking of?
You're thinking about quantum entanglement.
Yeah.
And that's spooky action at a distance, and people can make it, but it is wholly unstable, and they haven't found a way to be able to maintain it and pull them apart far enough to be of any use right now. Plus, it's action on one determines action on the other, but you still have to observe it, and knowing when to observe and everything. So they said that it doesn't really actually work for communication.
I thought they managed to do it up to a point, though.
Yeah, they have, but they've had a lot of difficulties with it. Quantum computing is about, because the whole point, the reason we have a 0 and 1 is because it's easier to calculate. The only way you can guarantee that something works. Why is it spooky? That's actually Albert Einstein's quote. Because it's considered distant, or two entangled particles. When you interact, or when you measure one, you will know, if you measure the spin of one of the particles, you know the spin of the other one. That's why they're considered entangled. But until you actually observe it, it's considered in superposition or in both positions at once. So by observing one, you are observing the other. That's what it's, and that, because that is instantaneous, it is information that you know about something that is at a distance from another object instantly, faster than light could take to get there. And the speed of light is the speed of information. That's what it actually should be called. So it's saying that the information is traveling faster than light. So that's why it's considered spooky for him.
Works
but
outside the laws of physics.
But a computer does zeros and ones, because if you can't guarantee the same amount of electricity going through a line at once. Computer things get old or go bad. So the easiest way to calculate anything is to say, does it have electricity or does it not have electricity? So if you did anything other than 0 and 1, you would have to define some level in the middle between 0 and 1, like 1/2. But then that requires less electricity, and there was no way to guarantee that it fit that, because say the electronic starts going bad and starts sliding from the 1 down to the 1/2, and now all of your math is wrong.
Every electronics, anything, I've worked in electronics my whole life, eventually voltages are going to shift. If you have capacitors that wane or resistors that just get old, it's unreliable.
Yeah, so that's why they say it's just zeros and ones, because then it's guaranteed. So the quantum computing's big benefit is that you can make 3 states. Because with an atom, you can say, is it spinning left, spinning right? Well, and I'm generalizing, but it's like if it's spinning one direction, spinning the other direction, or spinning both directions. So that sounds really weird, but atoms are weird. So it's about utilizing it. So you can basically increase the amount of bits by 1. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but it is an exponential increase. So for everything past that, it starts increasing stupidly. So That's one of the big benefits for quantum computing. There is other methods and ways to utilize quantum for computing as well. That's the main one I know. But it's just fascinating stuff about like measuring atom spin to determine instead of using transistors, which are the main one for zeros and ones.
I'm seeing a lot of potential in fiber optic communication, because you would think different wavelengths of light could differentiate different numbers.
Well, how do you guarantee that that wave of light isn't going to be impacted by something? Because it like can bend, and if it bends, then it could be something else and put into a different spectrum.
They always use infrared because it has the furthest transmission without.
I know, but yeah, but then you're still doing blinking, which is 0 and 1.
Yeah, that's what infrared is. It's just on off, on off, on off.
Yeah. Oh well, it's same with fiber optic cable, I think.
Yeah, that's what they use in fiber optic.
It's light. Fiber optic cable is the light is sent down a tube that, and you can actually see fiber optic. It's like something like Christmas. They have those little like plastic little like tubey things that are all glowy, and it's light can't. It can bounce within the tube itself, but it can't bounce backwards. It can only bounce forward because its angle that it hits, no matter the angle it hits, it can only bounce in the direction that's forward. So it works for information because you just shine the light down the tube and it will just go that way, no matter what.
Somebody's gonna be super confused. Like, I joined a My Little Pony, and we've been
Well,
talking.
and there's a difference between observing and measuring, though. Because there's this implication with quantum that it's human intervention that causes reality to collapse. That it takes a conscious mind to have something come into existence or to become one or the other. I forgot what there's like a causality chain, but it's what it's called. So it's not just like your eye that is observing it. It is you are, or something is interacting with it in such a way that causes the information that is within it to be extracted. So like you're shining something at it that is now meant for the purpose of bouncing back or extracting it. And when it hits it, so when something hits it, when it bounces away, based on how it bounces away, you can determine how it was spinning. And that's what, but they say like that you don't know what it is until you observe it, because if you're not observing it, you legitimately don't know. But anything you do to touch it is going to mess with it. It's the quantum world is messed up, where all the things you know are backwards. But the big thing that I remember I've heard people say is, and it isn't true, is that it's a conscious person observing it. But that's not what it is. We are the end of the observation chain. And there's other things in the universe that might interact with it in such a way that the information is transpired. We didn't observe it. The universe observed it. There's a whole thing I watched. If you want to actually get a lot of this information, the reason I actually know a lot of this is because when I go for walks or exercise, I listen to PBS Space Time. And it is a channel that I recommend on YouTube because it has a lot of cool science and is actually spoken well. This one.
Kind of lost me on the universe observes.
Have you ever asked?
No, I haven't. So they have a whole bunch of stuff on physics and black holes, and they live literally hundreds of videos on this stuff, and it is all very, very, very cool. And the way they break it down is pretty much in order. So if you go back like 2 years and just start watching, they'll have a video that builds on the next video that builds on the next video, and if they get to a point where it's like kind of confusing, they'll reference you back to the original video of like, well, we talked about this, so if you want to go back and watch that one, you'll get more information on it. So it's I never actually put the tweets out and stuff for the video, whatever. But yeah, I recommend their channel. Actually, another thing about it, I'm not actually subscribed to them. I've been watching their stuff forever, but I just tend to use it not as something new is out, but as I just am looking for something to watch that's 15 minutes long. But no, in it, I wouldn't even say the speed of light is slow. The speed of light is the fastest anything can go. So if you anything, to me, you could say speed is a percentage, and it's going 100%. It's real life lore is also a channel recommend. Okay. So to me, it's going 100%, and anything going even near the speed of light just bends everything around it. There's actually a cool video I watched recently that was talking about the math of if you had two spaceships that were tied together with a string, and they both took off at exactly the same time at exactly the same speed and got up to the speed of light, would the rope snap?
I think not.
Yes, it would. And I didn't agree with it at first. And with the same thing, that because they said that by doing so, because of how perception of everything works, the one spaceship would actually move ahead of the other, and in their frame of reference, and then in that one, the other one would see the other one move forward. It's a really weird thing with space, but they. But the string would snap because there would be a tension that would build up between the two. And so then the comment was, well, then wouldn't that happen between every atom within the ship? What if it was a steel beam? Or at what point do you remove atoms from two pieces of a ship to get to that point in the middle where now it's a broken string? And he did explain the math on it, and it actually did make sense once he explained it. And he goes, it's just weird. If the math works out that way.
I think the thought of the speed of light being 100%, though, kind of falls apart with the idea of quantum entanglement.
But that's the thing is, it's either that or there's something about the universe we don't understand. So what if there is, by entangling them, you are making a connection between two objects within a dimension we can't see. So within that dimension, the information is traveling and bypassing our universe altogether.
I mean, that is a theory.
Yeah, so then there's things we don't know. So that's why they call it spooky action at a distance, because until we know why it's happening, we can't say that it's defying any laws. So, like even the quantum theory, there's some tests that they've done that they verified that the tests are accurate by doing that test literally millions of times. But it doesn't mean that it's correct. It just means the math works out. So until something else comes along, and it just happens to be that this longer equation has this as a part of it, and but it's what we're seeing is not anything. It's not even correct. It just happened to work. So it's the universe at its edge is expanding faster than the speed of light, which is possible. But it is so. Yeah, there's a boundary of light that we will never past which we will never see.
Some stuff's traveling at 110%, apparently.
No, it's not that those things are traveling, because it's not that the objects are traveling further from us. Space itself is expanding.
Yeah. So
it is basically. So we're thinking that, like in a room, if the walls became further away, but it would actually be that every single space in space itself would be creating more space. It is being expanded upon. So it's not just that objects are expanding, space itself is expanding.
I always think of space as infinite. But I can understand the idea.
But we don't know, it might be.
I can understand the idea of all material, including gas, and from the Big Bang, that's always expanding outward.
It's accelerating outward.
Yeah.
And that's why they have dark energy and dark matter, because they can't explain why. They're trying to figure out what the cause of dark matter is, and they're saying that if it was like the thought of an aether, that there's something that permeates the whole universe that we can't see, because the amount of mass it would need to actually work would be so minuscule that we would barely be able to measure it anyway. But there's mass floating out into nothingness that is causing things to push away. So it's weird. It's faster than light relative to us. Yeah, there was the idea of having a faster than light guillotine, which was, say that you had two sheets of metal that ran a light year across, and they were 1 inch away from each other, but at a very, very slight angle. And you started dropping the one, and you moved it down, like say they were an inch apart, and that angle was just enough that if white and light year that was at the angle of 1 inch on one side and just touching it together. If you moved it down 1 inch instantly, that reference point at that guillotine would travel that light year in a second. But that is an artificial point. None of the atoms or anything traveled with it. It was a reference point that we created that said that though that intersection point was a thing, but to the universe it isn't a thing. It's just two things sliding past each other. So yeah, there's perspective that's included in there too.
You did discover one thing today. How much alcohol I have to drink to have this conversation?
No, it's like literally when I go on my walks, I'll just go on. I'll go on PBS Space Time and I'll just look up a random one, or even one that I've listened to before, just so I can get the information again, because you tend to forget it, or you weren't paying attention during part of it. But it's just got some really cool stuff, like Hawking radiation, going over how all that works, and what are the chances of aliens in the universe, and like all this. It's just all really cool science stuff.
We need to find us some aliens here soon. I'm getting tired of waiting.
I don't think we'll ever find them. One of the videos they covered over, I forgot what the name of it is. There's the principle that states that the conundrum of why we haven't found aliens in a universe if they should be plentiful. And there was a theory that was explaining why we haven't found them, and it had to do with multiple realities with certain things happening and how they branched out. Because it was saying like, if you were to say that a universe had millions of directions that it could go in based on splitting of atoms, that if at any point in history that the universe could split almost infinite directions based on the amount of atoms in the universe, just an astronomically high number. And then those universes, a second after that, or infinite amount of time smaller than that, could then split into that many more. And so if you think about it, where we are right now is only, and anything before us is insignificant or is comparative to zero compared to the future. So we haven't seen anybody yet, because by comparison, the amount of universes that exist after us outnumbers the ones before us by far. And I'm like, it's a really weird argument, but the way they brought it up and they actually put the math in there, it kind of worked, but it was just really weird.
It's basically an argument that we're one of the first sentient universes, or sapient.
That the chances are that there was more of an opportunity for such things to exist after us than before. But there were so many holes in the argument, but when they explained it all, it kind of made sense, but it was a thought experiment.
I think it's more of just a thought of why, rather than why we haven't come across the more advanced species.
One of my favorites was, there's a thought experiment. It was something with an R's basilisk. And it was a thought experiment that said, by just telling somebody about it, you're putting them at risk. And it was that sometime in the future, a hyper-intelligent civilization decided to build a giant robot or a giant computer, a Jupiter brain, you could call it. If you were to create a Jupiter the size of a computer, or a computer the size of Jupiter the size of a computer, if you were to make a Jupiter sized computer, that it would be able to basically process all of humanity in seconds. It could just create reality. And so this computer would be programmed to ensure its own creation. So it can create realities within, and that those realities would be indistinguishable from real reality, because it could process everything. It would have enough information to process basically every atom that any individual would be able to see or do at any point. And that if it was programmed to ensure its own creation, that it would promote anybody working towards its creation but not
those that were not actively working towards it. So the thought experiment was those people that know of such creature existing, even if it doesn't exist yet, and are not working towards its creation, are deemed not worthy and should be removed. And so the idea is, if you were to be considered a simulation on a computer in the future, and by probability there's a highly probable chance we're simulations based on other math, it's all based on probability, but saying that that I won't go into that part, but because of that if you thought about it and you weren't actively then helping it become creative from that moment forward, it would have you cease to exist. And what's to say that reality didn't start until 5 seconds ago, and it simulated all your history up until then? So stuff is.
It should have did a better job.
So it's this weird. There's a lot more details into it, but it was basically saying that by knowing it exists, you are putting that person at risk of now needing to work towards its creation, and it was a really neat, interesting thought experiment. And the board that originally had it had it taken down because it caused too much panic.
Panic?
The way that it was written,
yeah.
and it doesn't even take a conspiracy theorist to go with it, but it left people pondering and thinking. And
I mean, that's the point of a thought experiment, though, isn't it?
It was just the way it was put. It was that the knowledge of it, by just knowing it, puts you at risk. And so when people read it, now they're like, well, it might not be true, but what if it is?
I don't feel like a computer would ever be so cruel. Reality's far too cruel for it to be a simulation.
Sorry, well, I guess if you're just listening, then I guess it's fine to just go into like science tangents. No, like the Basilisk one. There's another channel I watch called. I don't know what he actually calls his channel now. It's Kyle Hill, I think. He used to do Because Science, but then he quit there because they treated him like crap, and he went and made his own channel, which is awesome. But it's Roko's Basilisk. That's the one. So, and it's just a really neat thought experiment. And then the Lightspeed Paradox is the one about the string snapping, and he's got some really interesting stuff, and I really like the way he presents. Some of the little 3D effects he has are pretty cheesy right now, but as a communicator, I think he's actually really good. So I recommend him as well. Let's probably actually get Twilight doing something.
Should I get a second glass? What do you think? Doing the
She's having a seizure.
No. It does kind of look like she's having a seizure. I'm going to pass on a second glass.
She's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What?
No, poor Twilight. I mean, they're already mutant enough. They got these bulbous heads.
Some pull-ups. Okay, I guess actually, what's he doing with her now?
I'm gonna get a glass of water.
I don't think there's any other cool science stuff I know. And a lot of the stuff I heard is just from things over time, so it's just background noise that I have, and I just tend to pick up on, because I find a lot of that stuff so fascinating that and you tend to remember stuff that you find interesting much more than the stuff you don't. So that's why I think it's pretty cool. But that's also like when I go for the walks and stuff, I could just listen to music, but I feel like if I'm going to be spending the time out, getting a little bit of knowledge isn't a bad thing. Yeah, good luck with collabs. Everybody wants to do one. Trying to think of like other random things. Well, like one interesting thing of what would it look like for an outside observer if you fell into a black hole? I always thought that was an interesting one. Where normally you always hear about spaghettification and everything, but there's so much stuff that's so based on your frame of reference that actually, at least from the outside, really wouldn't be what would happen. What would actually happen is you would basically you would watch the other person fall into the black hole and get slower and slower and slower until they eventually got to a point where they kind of stopped moving and then shifted from, or all their colors would shift into the red and then disappear because of just how the light would be compressed and all that. It is interesting you think that it would be like you see the person get zoomed in, but if they get pulled around at something that's capturing light, how would you see it get pulled around? It's neat. I was gonna say if that was a glass of whiskey,
yeah, that would kill me.
That's your vodka. If there's one thing you could change in your past, what would it be? Nothing.
Well, isn't that nice?
No, because there's to me. No, there's plenty of things I regret and I wish I could do better. But I'm happy with where I am now. And if I were to go back and change anything, it could mean not being where I am now. There's stuff that's happened to me like over a decade ago that I wish that you could say that I could wish that I would undo. But because of that, it was led to a cascading of events that I would probably not be in the Brony fandom, because it was because something happened. I dropped out of college. I ended up going back to working at trucking, which because while I was there, I got contacted from my old company and then went back to work there for a few years. And it was from being bored there that I found out about the Brony fandom online. So, and it was only through going, certain people that I met in college that led up to everything that I got into PC gaming, and it was from PC gaming that I even learned SFM. So I'm not going into butterfly effect or anything, but if you're could you fix things that were wrong? Yes, but you would also be undoing a lot of the things that were right. And so I think that life is best as it is. You make mistakes and you learn from it. If you were able to go back and fix all your mistakes, then you learn nothing. All you're learning is that you can undo everything, so why care?
It might prevent you from becoming an alcoholic.
That I am?
No.
Yeah, you.
Well, there you go.
So I've had that thought before about, to me it's not, you should not regret anything. You should learn from the things you did wrong. To regret means that I wish I could undo it, but it's already happened. And to regret it also means to try to wipe it out. And no, you should own it, learn from it, and move forward and become a better person from it. One day in the future, you'll look back on these days and be glad you never gave up. Yeah. No, there's a lot of that inspirational stuff out there, but.
Well, you can only look back if you never give up, because if you gave up, you're dead. That's what giving up is.
You just gotta make it the best you can until then.
Yep. And barring that, there's always drugs.
Oh, that did not go how I wanted it to. I'm gonna need to go to here.
You know, I remember before Equestria Girls, like a lot of people in the fandom would say, I just really like the character for their personality. They're horses. Not physically attracted to my waifu. And then they made them humans. And then you're like, come on, Hasbro, give me a break.
Why did you make that perverted? You just like randomly out of nowhere.
Silly human horses. They're weird looking anyways. You can give me that Kappa face. Twilight's not having a stroke no more.
Oh, this eyelid. Eyelid. Eyebrow? I can't remember.
It's real bad.
Can't remember which of these is for. Okay, it's not that because it's eyelid. Is it this one? Oh, there we go. Actually, I wonder if. Instead of going to use the squint. Yeah, that's better. But then I need this eye to open more.
Maybe the bottom opens more? She looks like Popeye the
oh yeah,
Sailor
she's just got a
Man.
little bit of squint. Let's take that out.
She got a Popeye vibe going. I mean, it was always kind of sad. Popeye clearly had a stroke at some point in his life.
Who lives in a pineapple under the sea?
Not Popeye.
It's close enough.
Sure.
SpongeBob SquarePants.
They both are sea related. No. I believe it too. Nothing about these like freakish humanoid creatures makes me think they can't do something. I'm just waiting for that like pony-like version of Equestria Girls. It's gonna happen. Give it a minute. It'll be like 2 seasons. We'll get some chibi Equestrian girls. Gotta keep competing with that Monster High.
I need to accidentally blended this. I need to...
I kind of still need to
Iron
watch
Place.
last weekend's episode of Pony Life. I don't know
You
why.
said it's bad.
It is bad.
Why you want to watch it?
Because it's Pony.
Though, the picture of Rainbow Dash eating on chips on the couch is one of my favorite pictures.
Just her, like, just getting all big old fat horse.
I know, I love it. She's just like chilling to the extreme.
It's relatable.
She does everything to the extreme, even getting fat.
Somebody challenged her to a fat off, and she just took it in stride.
Why is there left and right at all in here? There shouldn't be. Oh yeah, these are goofy on this one. That's why it's being goofy. I forgot. So down doesn't really go down. Yeah, it goes like left.
It's just a picture.
I think
from Pony
right
Life.
is down. This, I can't even get it to go further down from that point. Can I get it to go down from this point? No, I mean, she never face eat. No, I can't actually have to go down any further. Well, if that's the case, you just put it up. Oh, not out. There.
I feel like Rarity's the only one who actually cares that somebody just got smushed to death.
She wants to get more Instagram followers. So she's pulling the John Paul.
Ugh.
Oh,
Pinky's a deplorable.
what's the picture? I only saw the some memes with RD coughing for the first trailer. If I remember right, I remember seeing it in the main hall.
Oh, they posted it for Cider Fest. Or
Yeah.
there it is. Winnie City.
I love that picture.
She fat horse.
She's munch munch. She's on her third bag of chips.
I did see some people starting to make some of the models for Source Filmmaker for from Pony Life.
No, somebody
They
just
were
rescaled
weird.
the head up.
Yeah, that's all it was.
Yeah. Because they were playing around with him.
I mean, that's all it really is. It's just the texture for the hooves, and then they're just kind of scaled differently. Very chibi. Yeah, Pony Life is weird. It's I think the only voice actress who didn't come back is the voice actress for Spike. I think that's the only one they couldn't get back. So far.
Okay, so with the jaw, how do I get? Okay, I need to double check. Is this her teeth moving?
I got a Ninja Turtles grimace going on.
Okay, so that is.
Wow, her teeth are just kind of crushing into each other.
It's because of the. I put a weird mix together that is causing that.
It just hurts my face to think about. Like teeth coming in at an angle like that. Ugh. Yeah, they all came back.
No, they
except
came
for Spike's voice actress didn't come back. Spike's now being played by Tabitha Saint Germain. So, but the rest of them are back. And Tabitha, she's the voice of Derpy and Luna and Rarity. So
Easier to schedule when you got the same person.
I think Tabitha's probably cheaper or something because they have her play a lot of voices.
Well, she might have been cheaper because they could just tag it onto her or a current role, which is also then better for her because she doesn't have to go and do any other contracts or sign anything else. They just say do this and get more money.
she was actually one of the voice actresses for the original MLP. Like, in the 80s style. She's definitely a veteran in the business. And in just my opinion, she's one of the more talented voice actresses. Like, the portrayal she does for Luna and Rarity are some of the best. Also, she plays Derpy, so I might be biased.
She's not the first one to play Derpy, though.
Yeah. As far as I'm aware, she's always played Derpy.
No, she's not the first person. She's not the first person to play Derpy. Derpy had a different voice actor first.
When she said Muffin?
No, well, that, but also like in the episode where they had her called Derpy, she had a voice.
Yeah, that was Tabitha.
Was it Tabitha then, too?
She just did two different voices. But both the voices were Tabitha.
I don't know why they changed it. I love that first voice.
Tabitha said that she thought Derpy was a boy when she first did the voice. And then she was reinformed when she redid the voice that Derpy was a girl.
So what was wrong with the voice before?
Well, internet got angry at the voice before, so they made her change
parents
it.
got a couple people got angry at it, and they seemed loud enough.
But Tabitha also said she thought that Derpy was a boy. So when they redid the voice, she made her sound more feminine.
I liked the voice before.
I like the voice now. I mean, I wasn't upset about the earlier voice, but I do like the new voice better.
I like the old voice. It had character. The other one, the current one's just about her trying to be
Adorable.
Yeah, but before it was about her. It was giving her a unique personality of being Derpy.
I guess.
And she was named Derpy.
Yeah, that was the big thing. The fact that they never gave her back her name is what bothers me a little bit. That's her name. It's endearing. I'd even be happy if they just called her Ditsy Doo, which was her original name. Just give her name back. Like, Muffin is not her name. It's never been her name.
Well, Ditsy Doo, was that a fan name or their name?
That was their name initially. That's what the she was in the script as. Like, as far because she was actually first drawn by Lauren Faust, like in the MLP Bible. She was one of the characters who essentially was early drawn. And her name was Ditsy Doo, but then the fandom gave her the name Derpy. And then the show eventually basically gave a nod to the fandom and said the name Derpy. But thanks to the name Ditsy Doo, I think that's the reason a lot of the fans started saying that what's her name? Dinky Doo? Was her daughter? Which I kind of like that fan canon. It's very cute.
She's also the only, like, they always have her as a single mom, too.
Yeah, which I kind of like.
Because she's single?
Yes. It's just a nice thought that she has this little foal she's got to take care of.
Well, there's also, to me, it's more about representation for a family of that type. But
Yeah, which is all too common. It was sweet. When I actually remember in the episode Winter Wrap Up, they referred to her as Ditsy Doo. They called her Ditsy Doo in the episode Winter Wrap Up. Said she learned, she lured all the birds in the wrong direction. She was supposed to take them south, and she took them on the river. Or was it
okay.
Yep. Quick surprise. Don't know what that means. I think the one voice actress who changed a lot was the voice actress who, or not a lot, but wasn't the original voice actress, was the one who played Spitfire. I do believe there was two different voice actresses that played Spitfire throughout the first...
Amelia Heed's the only one that everybody knows that well, though. Amelia Heed, and she's not even the American voice actor.
She's like the Swedish one.
But it was just, they just liked the way that she said a certain word.
Apple pie.
It was apple pie or something.
Yeah, she said it very sensually. She's like, apple pie. And they're like...
That was your way of saying... You just said... You said apple pie like normal, and that was your sensual.
I was like, apple pie. I don't know. How do you say apple pie sexy? I don't know. She did it. Been drinking.
I can't follow up the perfection that you did, apparently.
Apple pie. Let me, like, caress your arm while I say apple pie.
I'm pretty sure the animators didn't have that in.
No, it was just the way she said it. And apparently it got her, like... She's been at some American conventions. And
she follows me on Twitter.
Well.
When I posted the Wonderbolt initiation way back years ago, she followed me after that.
I mean, she's over, what's the big European convention? Galacon?
Yeah, probably.
I'm sure she's pretty big at that one.
No, I felt special about her following me on Twitter, and then I realized she just follows tons and tons of people. She's got like 2,000 followers.
Or people she follows.
Hmm?
People she follows. She just follows a lot.
I think she just says that that person made something cool with Spitfire, so that she follows them.
Well, that's her, like, just saying the apple pie very sensually is apparently her career highlight. So. Now, if all the ponies would just, like, whisper sweet nothings into our ears with every line. Drive the fandom insane. Oh, I'm curious to see what G5 is going to be. I have to wait for the movie next year. Fingers crossed they use the animation assets from Rainbow Road Trip in the movie. That would be awesome. More kerfluffle.
Fuff. God fuff.
God fuff. All the fuff. Come on, everybody on the internet. Hashtag bring back kerfluffle. She was the best poem.
Kerfuffle. You said fluffle.
Kerfluffle.
Kerfuffle.
Kerfuffle. Fluff.
There's no L after the F. Well, not the first.
Kerfluffle.
Second. Not after the second F, actually.
No, but are you sure there's no L?
It's
No.
kerfuffle and then
Kerfuffle.
not kerfluffle.
I keep wanting to say kerfluffle.
Because that was the whole thing with, like, PonyCon having their thing fuff.
Kerfuffle. She got the extra fuff. I put the extra fuff. She's a cute horse. That's the point.
Okay, so Twilight's pretty good everything after the half point. Everything before this, she needs some kind of living motion. But for now, I'm going to move on to do Pinky.
Punk. No. Those are the eyes that have murdered. Fuff. I'm still convinced it's the only reason I won that round with Kerfluffle. It's just the fact that it was Kerfluffle.
Michael. Michael.
What? 'Cause, 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 her face is melting. That's not okay. That's really not okay. No.
I'm Jay Leno.
It works. It's like a tea head.
Yo.
Yeah, it was a different voice actor after The Best Night Ever. I think that's the one where she was a different voice actor and they changed her after that. A little gruffer after that, yeah.
Oh, Rainy. Fuff. It's Fuff. They were asking questions to the voice actor regarding what her headcanon is in regards to what happened to her leg. And she had one headcanon, but then somebody brought up another idea that she said is now her new headcanon, where it was one of the people there that did like spells or something used a leg in a spell or something, and so now she is, and then she has different legs for accessories depending on the situation.
I mean, I can see that.
And,
She's a designer.
but it was just she was interesting to
What was her
have talk.
headcanon?
I can't remember. The recording's up, so you can go find it. It was just like questions with her. I can't remember her name, Rachel Shell or whatever. But anybody asked her different questions, but she got very aggressive on some of them.
I mean, I see a pony who lost a leg, and I just want to hug that pony, make it feel better.
But the one thing I don't like is like somebody who said they're like, thank you for playing a character that represents the handicapped community. I'm like, it's the writers and the people that did that. I'm like, she probably didn't even know that was a case until after she had already applied and whatever. Yeah. She's just voicing the character. The writers and everything are the ones that built that character to be represented.
I mean, there's no reference to her being handicapped in the script. So,
but I love the light. It just defines her character.
It does help to. It makes you wonder about the character. Like, I think that's always kind of been one of the strong points of My Little Pony, is that a lot of these characters have, like, pasts that aren't always pleasant. And it makes you think about them on a deeper level. It isn't always sunshine in Equestria. Ponies get sick, ponies lose loved ones. I mean, that was always kind of the thing with Applejack, right? Like, what happened to her parents? Like, something horribly tragic has happened in Applejack.
Why did it have to be tragic? What implies it was tragic?
Her parents are dead.
Yeah, but it didn't have to be tragic.
How is that not tragic?
They could have been
died.
tragic
happily.
But you make tragic as if it was like a horrible accident or something. They never even say they're dead.
Okay, they're dead.
No, because what about Skulu's parents? Nothing was said about them until they just popped up.
Which is worse. They're just horrible parents.
Yeah.
Yeah. Applejack's parents are dead. I think that was
maybe they both retired and they went and moved to Florida. They gave the farm to their kids.
Oh, no.
No, nothing is ever said about that, so you can't imply tragedy. You just want tragedy.
I didn't imply tragedy. Tragedy was heavily implied across multiple episodes.
How was it implied?
The shooting stars, the tree, the whole
episode. The tree was about building up their relationship. It wasn't about being a tragic end.
At the very least, the stars in the one episode. Where they see two shooting stars and the writers said, yeah, that's supposed to represent her parents.
Yeah, sure, but it doesn't mean it was tragic.
How is a young early death not tragic?
Why do they have to be young? Maybe Applejack is just immortal.
You know what? I'm enjoying this headcanon. It's fine. I was hoping for the longest time that Rainbow Dash was raised by a single parent, but they broke my headcanon there.
No, I think I was waiting for a more, like, aggressive father or something. But no, I think that the parents were perfect. That she was the way she was because her parents were over supportive.
Yes. I mean, I like that, but my headcanon for the longest time for Rainbow is that she was raised by her father, and her mother had died when she was really young.
What is it with you and just wanting everybody dead?
That's what Applejack's parents dead. They just were dead.
Well, your headcanon for Granny Smith is she dies in a fire.
No, that was her parents who died in a fire. Granny Smith dies of old age. She was already on that pedestal.
Okay, still, okay. I'm sorry I got the wrong ponies burned.
It's very important. I always wanted the episode where Granny Smith died because I felt like that would
never be an episode.
That would have been a moving good episode, though. Of her, like, basically leaving the farm to the three of them.
It just does, like, the same thing with the turtle that they just, like, she needs to go nap for the winter.
Granny Smith and he's to hibernate in the snow. They just bury her in the snow.
But Tank comes back after that, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Okay, yeah, I thought. But yeah, they just bury her in the snow and then you never see her again. They just have a mound of snow even in the summer.
Yes. Goodbye, Granny. Just bury her in the snow. Just gone.
No, it's not a good point today. So there's. So we discussed. Yeah, I know they do a lot of things in the show to imply things, but they leave it open to interpretation, which is great because if you go into with a fandom like the one we have, if you go and tell somebody something 100%, it's now locking down canon. Where if they imply it, it allows a lot of flexibility for people to go lots and lots of different directions, like fire murder. And
fire murder? They died trying to save Applejack.
Trying to save Applejack?
Well, she got out on her own, but they didn't realize it.
So they died because that's where the tragedy.
My whole headcanon is the father stayed behind to try to save Applejack, but the beams from the fire had fallen between him and her bedroom. She climbed out the window, but he didn't know it. And when she showed up on the front lawn, her mother ran back in to get him. But then they both got trapped. And they both died together.
You spent way too long making your own fan fiction in your head.
It's just this one thing.
Just the one thing. That's the only thing you have a headcanon on.
Well, that isn't like larger fan canon. I think they died in a fire. And I gave them a very tragic but heroic death. They were both trying to save each other or their family.
But I still don't like, until something is stated specifically, I don't like going and go off implications. Implications are dangerous. So
her parents are dead, man.
Maybe,
No,
but I don't.
Dead.
But I don't like saying that for sure.
Heavily implied.
Yeah, but implied doesn't mean confirmed. You can.
Hold on, I didn't take my glasses off to narrow my eyes.
No, because implications are dangerous. Implications cause a lot of problems.
In this scenario, though.
No, but it's still implications. I work in black and white, so I just don't like implications.
I'm just imagining like the whole episode with the grandfather coming back. Like he was just crying because he's like, he's just like, I'm so sorry. I was just so
maybe
angry.
you just cut a bunch of onions.
You can go visit your daughter. She's just like, she's over there, always off camera.
Hello.
He's like, the hell? They're dead.
It could have been that they ended up having a divorce because they had some issues, and so so she ended up finding some like cute Guatemalan guy. And like going off and doing their own thing, and now she just lives in another country.
Well, what about the dad?
Oh, like he works at the Motel 6, but he's a deadbeat. Nobody talks to him.
Okay, well, this almost seems more.
It's not tragic, but it is just as possible. Because I can definitely see him because he's crying that he's disappointed in his daughter for running away with the Guatemalan.
Leaving her family behind like he did. I like this headcanon.
Granny Smoth. I'm Granny Smoth.
She's getting dementia in her old age. And this whole scene in the headcanon where Applejack tries to run in after the roof collapses and Granny like grabs her and holds her down, tears. She doesn't want her getting hurt. She knows that her son just died. She feels it inside. She just saw the roof come down on his head, so in a fire.
Mm-hmm.
And of course Applejack wants to run in and get her parents. Big Mac's already run off to grab the fire department in Ponyville, so he ain't there no more. Granny Smith is holding the baby apple bloom.
Stop it, please.
Like
this is literally like, I swear that if I were to go upstairs, I'd probably find this written down.
I have it pretty played out in my head, like how the fire started, what everybody was doing. Like I had this whole scene in my head where her father's tucking her in the bed, like before the whole event happens.
My running away headcanon was bullshit. It's not headcanon. But it's just, it's left open.
One where they take their own lives. Holy crap. Yours is darker than mine. They're just committing suicide.
But no, this thing is, it's open for interpretation, but I don't think that, but none of it is canon. So anything that's thought up is just the way that you want it to be. But it doesn't mean that's the way it is.
Their parents being dead is canon.
No, it's not. Until they actually said it, it is not canon.
Fine. I will concede because there's no end to this.
And well, you can see that. Well, Derpy's name is Derpy. It's canon. They said it in the episode, and then they retconned it.
Yeah, they did because they're jerks.
SJWs are jerks.
I don't know about that. I was an SJW. I don't know anybody else who's complaining about that. Just soccer moms or something. I think there was like 5 people who complained about that.
Yeah, but you know, I know how comments work. I know how comments work. Oops, it's auto saving. It only takes one.
I mean, it's almost more offensive to censor in the respects that they did, because it's kind of like saying mentally handicapped can't be.
They thought that they were making fun of the mentally handicapped.
I think her character's been expanded on enough now that would no longer be the case. Derpy's just a bit ditzy. She's not by any means.
Derpy's a bit derpy.
She's just, you know.
Derpy is derpy.
That's all. She's adorable. Gonna make the Flash. Yeah.
Yeah, but I want to do it a specific way, because then it'll bring attention to it.
I do have to admit, I did cry on that episode. The one where they like showed her parents. I was in tears. Did you cry?
Did
Did you cry on that episode?
Can't can't remember it that much. I think I watched it during the con.
I was in tears. I remember it very vividly. It was moving. I'm already sobered up. A little bit.
A little bit.
Like, not completely, but I'm not, I've gone from drunk to buzzed.
Okay, so I have the intensity at 0. Okay, so actually it doesn't look like that.
Yeah, I guess not.
Hmm?
I was thinking about playing Factorio with Jurassic tonight, but he logged
Factorio?
on. Factorio. Is that what I call it? Yeah.
He says Factorio.
Yeah. Yeah.
Satisfactory.
Satisfactory, yeah. Same game.
No, it's not. One's 2D, one's 3D.
That's the only difference. That and
One of them has limited resources. One of them has aliens that attack en
Yeah.
masse.
Well, that's gonna become a thing.
Soon. Yeah, it's actually gonna. That's one of the next updates.
Yeah.
At least if the random person I saw in a chat is telling the truth.
Yeah. Go tell him. Nice flash.
If anything, sometimes for these they do like the little triple. So it'd be like,
Oh, you're being hosted.
I'll switch who's. Actually, I'm just gonna keep. You know what, maybe I might do this. Blend it a little bit better. No, I'll keep it as it was. It's just about having a little light. I don't care about it being perfect.
That's pretty good.
Oh, make sure after 8. I'm gonna have to play with the eyes a little bit. She still seems kind of static, not really Pinkie Pie. Probably
I
move
think
the
she
form a
just
little
needs
bit.
to like smile or something.
Yeah, I'll do that too. But it is after 8, so we got Twilight, at least the main motion of hers done, which is pretty good. The thing I like about fingers, once you get them in position, it's usually just a lot of the same motions, so you just kind of grab them all at once. But progress. That's good. I just have to get Applejack a little more in there so you can see her with your shotgun, be like,
Yeehaw.
yeah, be like, yeah.
That right there, that's all the animation you need. Yeah.
Just bang, 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 bang.
Arms just pop off. Just poof.
Bang, bang, bang.
She broke her
Gangsta. Gangsta.
Apparently, yeah, hold the weapon with your gangster.
Oh no, I don't have it locked to the end of it. So, okay. But I'm done for now. So I will be back on Friday to do stuff. Same
More
thing.
quantum theory this
Yes.
Friday.
It's more quantum theory. But just based on the picture, if you like the space stuff that we talked about before, Expanse is really good with keeping a space drama within the realm of science and accurate to science. Definitely really good. I got the wallpaper because I had got in on their Kickstarter to get the spaceship from the show in a figure format. It'd be about this big. So, yeah, that big. So, and I'm going to put it right over there. I got a spot for all the books are, too. So, yes, thank you for coming. Yeah, have a good week. Where's my kitty?
Yeah.
There's Kitty. Okay. Yay.
We gotta have Kitty.
Okay.
Cat
We'll see you
Taco.
guys later. Bye bye.